You think it's illegal to be a Russian number
Jesus.
station? Yeah,
Probably not.
like Blind LLC holding a. Anyway,
Welcome
Barnabas,
back
call my
to
lawyer.
BoomerRex Tonight, your nearly daily source for news and politics. Let me introduce Mr. Boomer Rex himself.
Welcome back.
Who, of course, is a boomer and asshole.
It's not me.
Who's
I'm
an
a
asshole?
gay Chinese cyborg from the Illuminati.
Who is a millennial.
Yeah,
And
that too.
A millennial Chinese gay cyborg.
RisenLadyHeathen, am a millennial and a female. Tell me about your two knowledge of politics. What do you know about politics?
That it's the only way to get groups of humans to do stuff without saying, God told me this thing, when
I
they're
have a gun.
starving and they're all tripping balls.
All right, so these two.
Oh,
have-
yeah, you can also use force. I usually, if I was going to do a cult, all about the drugs.
These two know lots about.
No, a safe
politics.
altered state, love bomb them, like.
No, I worry.
That's
that,
part of why I know a lot about conspiracy theories, too.
I worry that our political institutions have become so corrupt that they aren't working anymore.
Yeah. But I've read the
And
Federalist
where we go
Papers
from there's
that
a really bad place.
I'm annoyed that the people who reference the deep poli-sci stuff are dumb, and how could they have read that and come away with such a wrong thing? It's like the Ayn Rand nonsense of Atlas Shrugged. If you're not... Yes, every male has been 14 at some point. It's
Right.
pretty much that with pages.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be invited to the secret magical valley. Like, most of the humans don't get it, which is what annoys me about how that informed conspiracy theorists and they're going to get rid of 80% of the population so we can all live in the valley, and like...
So okay,
And if
so-
you hold that belief, I'm reasonably certain you won't be there.
No, but I'm sure it was easy for our ancestors to talk their ancestors on. Let's get on a boat. It sucks here.
so
Because
basically,
I'm not in charge.
they know all the things about politics, and I am learning about politics. So we want to.
Do all the things make you uncomfortable the same way?
Yeah, it does.
Like, because I don't, like,
we
I
want
covered
to-
my corner, man.
Shut up. We want to inform you, our listeners, on news and politics from each perspective at our roundtable. Okay, now you can say whatever the fuck you want.
Like, I covered my corner and, like, 45 degrees on each side. Like, damn it, man. So, no, no, I am not as well versed in anarchist literature as I would like to be, I guess, except what I've read hasn't really pushed me to, like, hey, check out more of our that wouldn't work past 100 people. So you've given me a religion by any other name.
Exactly. Well, and the
I can get a couple of valleys to
that's part of
agree.
why you don't know, is you looked at it and said this won't work. So any philosophical underpinnings and so forth are completely irrelevant.
Well, or completely based on a modern, right, a structure in the country where this was written. Right, the various satires, the various anarchist reading rooms, those were based on, no, the state did something to a group, and some members of that group were like, oh no, fuck it, dibs, vendetta, motherfucker. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care if I know I'm not going to win, but I'm going to make your winning expensive.
Okay, so let's dig in now.
Sure.
Tell me about No Thank You.
Yeah, this one, and we're going to talk about this one.
No, this is my fault.
Yeah, no, I'm not happy about
So a
this one.
Kentucky man charged
Nope.
with sexual assault was given an unusual ultimatum by the judge: join the military or serve jail time.
Oh,
Right. So he's got a 12-month sentence pending
all right.
going in the military. So. And if
Oh no,
he
I'm
doesn't-
going last. I have a alternate opinion, I believe.
So anyway, this clown assaulted a female inmate, right? Volunteered to drive her to the hospital, right? Assaulted her on the way back, broke every rule to be alone with her in the vehicle, etc., etc.
Never mind.
So my first response is fuck no.
Apparently, I had a different story.
Oh, what did you do?
I don't know.
Oh. But again, there was a time when kids were, if not routinely, at least occasionally told, go in the army or go to the fucking pen.
Right, but this guy's 28. This isn't a kid.
Nope, I'm still sticking with my original awesome
let's
answer.
be honest, we do not need more rapey people in the military. There's enough of them there. We don't need to add to the fucking problem, okay?
I'm not sure they're overrepresented in the military. They might be. It's a volunteer military, so there's a certain...
The military's got a
personal
hell of a
view.
problem, and the problem children that go in the military have a hell of a victim pool, because what happens off post,
Yeah.
How can you identify troops from college kids other than fitness level and haircut?
Yeah.
Right, at a bar, they don't stand out if they're in civilian clothes, which is a good thing, but a thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, no, let's not put more rapey people in the fucking military. Please, dear God, as a female, I'm begging you, don't do this.
So I have an alternate point, or at least I have, if we have to do it this way, that I agree, I hadn't heard the details of, right?
Yeah. I was.
That's why I didn't choose it as a story, is I'm like, fuck, man, maybe. And I had other stories. The 4th Training Battalion on Paris Island is the women's battalion.
Uh-huh.
I would send him a month early. And he lives in a cage on their grinder.
Ooh.
Like, I'm going to introduce
So
him
you
to the
get to
most
take him out.
formidable women on the planet for a month before. And if they kill him, I don't care. He wouldn't even be like a high watermark
Not
in
even
body
gonna
in
check.
recruit body count in the island's history. Like, no. No, his is more disregardful of the other things, and this wasn't one of the on the fence tales of, right, impropriety. This wasn't, right, where, nope, none of those answers are good, Brandon. We're not saying any of that on tape.
Yeah.
No, but that's the only thing I can think of, is an amount of violence that would make most Americans uncomfortable, and yes, that's what the military does at some very basic level. The only question is how long they stay in that mentality, and, right, how far do they crush you down to build you back up, where, yeah, I think this human could be retread if they became someone's special project. But it's going to have to be that level of work.
Right.
I think it would probably have a more lasting impact than, right, the standard answers of therapy and the various things, because
Oh yeah.
it's going to give you a body of achievement to look at and go, I don't know, I can do many a push-up, or, right, it will give you as many things as you want to do, largely. But, yeah, no, I'd give them the Marine Corps. If they can't fix him, I promise they'll get him killed somewhere.
So anyway, my response was, I do not want a guy who's been convicted of sexual assault in the military. But then I'm thinking back. So first day, well, when actually the first day is probably the 3rd day, no CS. Sitting at the tables, filling out the paperwork, right?
And there we go. That was going to be my counterpoint.
So the prior service guy next to me, we're just filling out the paperwork. You know, there's no guidance on it. It's very easy. Just fill it the fuck out.
Name.
Yeah.
Social.
Et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, all of a sudden he says, sir, I'm going to need an extension sheet. And our TAC officer looks over and says, what? He said, I need an extension sheet, right? My criminal history will not fit in the little block that's here. This lieutenant looks at him. He says, what? And this senior NCO goes, sir, I'm not even out of the felonies yet. So he's sitting next to me. Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, I've got you. Checkmate in 2.
One of the finest men I've ever known.
Mm-hmm.
2 awards of the Silver Star, 2 awards of the Bronze Star. I have no fucking idea how many Purple Hearts. My best friend all the way through OCS. Just one hell of a guy. So once we got used to each other, I said, can you talk about, I said, that was my first encounter with you, was you needed an extension sheet. He said, oh God. He said, from the time I was 16, he said, the whole thing in our neighborhood was joy rides, right? And, so you'd go steal a car and you'd drive it around for a while, and you wouldn't bend it, you wouldn't break it, you'd put it someplace where it was easy to find. He said, but at some point you get caught. And he said the first couple of times that happens, they write it off as joy riding, so forth and so on. He said then he turned 18.
Yep. Juvenile delinquent theory.
Yeah.
But
Felony auto theft.
that's what the Norman Rockwell painting mentality of cops gets you.
So Judge looks down through his record. He says, son, I'm going to give you one chance to save your life. He says, you're going in the Army. He said, if you don't, I'm sending you upstate for 4 years. I thought, fuck, 4 years is 4 years, and it's better if you're not in a cage.
Now that's
Anyway, so I think the likelihood that he's listening to us is pretty low.
Soon. You don't have a choice. Barnabas knows where you live.
So anyway, he signs up for the Army. They're well aware of his criminal history. And so they put him on the bus, and they literally, just like in the movie, I've forgotten the name of the movie, they handcuff him to one of the seats. And he doesn't get off at Fort Jackson. He goes to Fort Benning.
Yep.
And they hand him to a company cadre who are expecting troops in about 3 weeks.
That's where I stole the idea from.
Yep. So, well, and it turns out that was perfect. First time he fucked up, they took him outside and said, dig me a 6x6x6.
Yep.
You can't stop, you can't eat till you're
Yep.
done. So at about 4 o'clock in the morning, he staggers into the barracks. They woke up. They said, are you done? And he said, yes. So they took him back outside and they looked at the hole and they said, that's not in the right place. Move it 3 feet to the left.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was kind of a wake-up call. So it continued like that. Just we made him live under the barracks for 4 days.
Oh.
Because he didn't fix up his...
I've handed food to kids under the
Area.
barracks.
What?
I've handed food to kids under the barracks.
Yeah.
Don't refuse to train.
So anyway...
Spiders live down there.
Anyway, by the time their group of soldiers showed up for training, he wound up being the platoon guide. And he was perfect, right? He
He knew
rough,
where stuff
he
was.
Yeah.
Idiot, take him to the thing.
Were, etc., etc., etc. So anyway, graduated top of his class to the extent that you do. They hung a stripe, maybe 2 stripes on him.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Probably wrote
2
a nice
stripes.
letter and called somebody.
Yeah. So now he's a PFC, right? Goes forward from there. Again, goes to Vietnam. 2 silver stars, 2 bronze stars. Yeah. Yeah. What we have here is a soldier.
May I have my coffee?
And anyhow, then they decided he should go to OCS. And he was in the first 10 across the stage. So, anyway. Here's a guy who was headed for the state penitentiary and had made a success of his life.
Yep. So I promised checkmate in 2. McNamara's 100,000. In the time when that Grease song about date rape was pretty much courting in America. Right, the scary parts of Back to the Future, like you're in the car, like it's just gonna happen, bro. Well, lady, bro. And so for checkmate, if you're telling me that the Army can make a lieutenant out of your friend,
Jailbait.
that absolutely the Marine Corps can make a corporal out of
Out of
shithead McGee.
Okay.
Given enough rope and enough, I don't know, he fell down a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
Damnedest thing.
I'm perfectly
Again.
happy with that.
Give him to the women's battalion. They can train him for a month and decide. Right? I'll take a voice vote.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't
If
like
we don't
it.
like him, drown him in the salt marshes.
Yeah, no, that I'm happy with the idea of. But I just don't know how I feel about rapey people being put in the military that already has issues with rapey people.
I understand.
That's just a personal thing, and
And I don't know whether the military even accepts felony convictions
I don't
anymore.
know. Yeah. I know there's almost
I
certainly a
know-
waiver for it if he learns a skill they need desperately. But
I know that when I was signing up, they're like, you need to make sure that, every, minor whatever that I had. So, I'm talking parking tickets, right? I had to
Yes.
make sure that those were all covered and paid.
Yeah, the last of the hyper peacetime wars.
And listed.
No, I didn't have to list them as long as they weren't. If it was just like a parking ticket,
Yeah, I
as
don't
long
think
as
they
it was
list
paid,
those
they didn't
Yeah.
care. It was if you had an outstanding thing that wasn't solved.
They didn't want a light to go off where her lights go off, saying, "Hey, there's a guy in the federal building in Boston. He's got active warrants. You should probably go get him." Because that's the kind of background check. Like, they're not looking for much beyond someone that actually cares and would like to talk to you about that thing that happened.
Yeah.
No, my experience with that was, I had a job assignment where I had to have a full background investigation done. So,
Oh, this is fun.
I wrote everything down, right? So I'm not worried about this. And it's been about, I don't know, 2 months since all the paperwork went in. And I get a message, literally says, "The colonel will see you at 5 p.m. Okay, first of all, I'm no fan of the colonel. And second, I have no fucking idea what the colonel would want to talk to me about. So I show up at 5 p.m. and he locks me up. And he says, "We are here to discuss your criminal history." And my breath is just taken away. And I said, "Sir, other than minor traffic violations, I have no criminal history." And he said, "Well, it's those traffic violations we're here to talk about." He said, "Do you realize that you had 6 moving violations within a period of 2 years?" Hell yes, I knew, because for the entire period I was living on pins and needles that another one would cost me my license if I didn't go 4 months or whatever it was. And I said, "Yes, sir, I'm aware." He says, "They have assessed that as being a disregard for rules and standards." And I said, "Sir, I would offer the alternate that I had a sports car and love to drive. But I understand how you could look at my record and come to that conclusion. What do I need to do?" And he said nothing. He said, "I was just told to counsel you on your criminal record." I said, "Thank you, sir. Will there be anything else?" He said, "No, Lieutenant, get out of my office." I was like, fuck me. So, anyway.
Yeah, I don't think they care about that kind of thing as much anymore.
No,
And to be fair, I probably, at that time, I was like, 18 or something, 19, 20. So I had, 3 speeding tickets. Maybe, no, I think it was 2. But that was it. I'd been pulled over by cops, but normally I didn't get tickets. They were just pulling me over because I had too many kids in the car or something, and they wanted to make sure that we were all, allowed to smoke or whatever bullshit.
Yeah.
It was back when, cops would pull you over just to be shitty.
Yes.
You were obviously a teenager.
Because roll those dice twice and you win. It's
Sure.
New Hampshire. There's nothing to do but drugs and each other.
Yeah, and funny enough, I never got into drugs.
No, but it's
All
why
my
the cops...
friends did.
If you want to know where the makeout places in your town are, ask the cops, because that's one of the fun games, is go and check out the makeout spots. Make sure everyone's having a good time. And
Roll in,
see the
roll
topless
in real
humans.
slow and quiet, and then hit the lights.
You know what's really sad? I don't know where the makeout spots in my town were. I never knew any of that. I was the good girl.
I grew up
I knew where they were.
middle class enough that people's parents were out of, the house.
Yeah.
Or just, anywhere at all for a moment, out of any view from anybody.
I was the mom of the group of friends. They'd all get, whatever, and I'm like, we need to calm down a little bit. I get you, but, we need to tone it down a little bit.
Cool.
They're like, thanks, Mom. All right, so tell me about Mike Lindell. Are you kidding?
We're all going to jail.
So,
He's on to us.
MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell says that he has evidence that will put 300 million Americans in jail for life
Sweet, me?
for
Am I on the
voter
list?
fraud. So you sit there and you look at that and you go, I think there were around 160 million voters in 2020.
Yeah, the sins of the father. The voter things.
Well, yeah, I'm assuming what he's got is photographs of school-age children filling out fake ballots and stuff.
Hey, man, the 29 million and a half of us that aren't going to jail, they're going to have a bitchin' time.
And I would never trust a school-age child to fill out
No.
a fake ballot.
Right,
What the
exactly.
fuck kind of idiocy is that? Because they're going to be writing stuff like fart face. Like, I'm voting for fart face.
Yeah, that's how Boatface McBoatface wins things.
Bodie McBoatface.
Excuse me.
Farty
internet
McBoatface.
nonsense.
Everything you're going to see over these next 7 months to get rid of the voting machines,
Right.
and you're going to see the Supreme Court case coming out. All these are great things, everybody.
This
The
is the
fuck
two
is he
ways of
talking
doing
about?
it. No, this is the two ways of cult bullshittery.
Yeah.
If the gold lies just over that thar hill,
Right.
or what they're going to do to you is so horrible, we must strike first.
Yeah.
Right? If hooking is the world's oldest job, cross-border skirmishes is the second. Right? From like we're going over to the next valley and taking, I don't know, let's go see what they have. We'll put all their stuff in a pile and we'll see what we want.
We have enough evidence to put everybody in prison for life.
Yeah.
300 and some million people. We have all that way back to November and December.
I remember back when America's just on track to have half of its population
Somebody
in
should
jail.
check this clown.
No, this is the religious mania. This is the kind of human that says, Jesus, take the wheel. Like, no, he's lost and broken, and I don't know. Like, I don't know where his family is. Like, it's time to pull this human away from the mic. Like, this is entirely the same
Get the
feeling.
hook. Get the hook.
We need one of those giant hooks and just...
It's the feeling I had when Clint Eastwood gave a speech to an empty chair and was just lost on any of the, like, okay, but if you ask him a single policy question, he's not going to be able to tell you anything because it's kind of been really awesome to be Clint Eastwood.
I do like Clint Eastwood. I'm very sad he went crazy.
Yeah, but it, like, again, there's a reason why we didn't hear a lot from Bob Dole at the end.
Anyway, despite his claims, Lindell did not reveal any of
No,
this.
of course not. He's never going to. That's what this hucksterism does.
Yep.
It's the same as I'm sure his pillows are number one ranked by something.
Yeah.
Right? That you can always, right? It's the, no, this is.
I actually have friends who have his pillows, and they say they're awesome, and I've been forced to use them when visiting these friends, and they are the worst pillow absolutely ever. I mean, I guess if you're a back sleeper, maybe you can,
But they don't scrunch good.
but they're not good for side sleepers, and I think about 90%
That's
of people
probably
sleep
a
on
really
their
good
side at some
demographic
point
he's
in the
targeted.
evening, yeah. It's
But
just...
no,
They're so uncomfortable. They're lumpy too. They're lumpy. They're just
again,
not
it's
good.
tragic. It's the nonsense. Like, this kid believes that we really did try to send Delta Force to stop the head of the CIA from deleting the. Oh my God, the head of the CIA just picks up the phone and has people killed. She doesn't, like, globetrot around doing the murders. This is what happens when your entire concept of foreign policy is some Jack Ryan shit.
Yep.
Oh,
And
and
I
by
love
the way-
me some Jack Ryan shit. Don't misunderstand. It's like when people, like, misapply American exceptionalism. It's like, no, it's the reason why there's ranger battalions that when they run indoors, then they spend the rest of the day cleaning indoors. Because, yeah, it is being all that in a bag of Doritos. Like, we run every day. We do the hard things. Like, but we've never delivered well on that on some ends, and we should work on it. But that's, I get why we don't want to put that as, like, some people are uncomfortable putting that as the, like, best foot forward of America is the end of a colonizing equation that's really gross. Every time you look at it, you're like, oh, I never noticed that facet of it. That's horrible. That's all the babies, you say.
Yep.
But again, if you do like his pillows, but you don't want to give him money, Walmart sells basically the same exact pillow now. So just go to Walmart, and they're cheaper. And
It's pillows.
You
I
don't have
can't-
to give him money.
I don't know. I maybe never, like, I am waiting one day to, like, have a night of sleep where I wake up and, like, Chorus of Angels or, like, Barnabas on drugs. But no, I don't get much from sleep. I really don't like it. I am certain the instant I go offline, Mardi Gras goes off around me. And then it's all swept up
An
quietly.
interesting thought.
I hate sleep.
I love sleep. I'm all nice and warm.
No, I like falling asleep. That part's pretty cool.
I don't like falling asleep. I don't like the act of like laying in bed and waiting for sleep to come.
Oh,
Like,
that's your whole problem. What
for-
is this waiting shit?
for me. I'm like, I'll lay in bed for hours,
Oh, that's sad.
and then when I finally get to sleep, I don't sleep well. Like, it's not pleasant. It'd be
You
nice.
should Google around with those symptoms and see if you can.
Well, I'm thinking it might be related to me being old and going through a phase.
Bullshit.
A
You might
womanhood
want to try.
phase.
You might want to try some melatonin,
Maybe.
which I do know works.
On the other hand, you can also take 30 melatonin and nothing bad happens to you if you're mean. I don't know about you. Your mileage will vary. Do not take pills.
Why did you take
Based on-
30?
I just took them until I felt something.
Oh,
Same reason I drank Morning Glory tea. I do a lot of really dumb shit.
yeah, that was probably dumb.
LSA and LSD are basically the same, and I'm not that worried about. It's like how the methyl group on methamphetamines does fuck all. It's just straight old Nazi crank, but
Don't do drugs.
yeah, don't do
kids.
drugs. The internet, obviously.
I
Don't
I
pay
don't care about grown-ass adults. Children don't do drugs.
children. Don't be near my podcast.
I don't tell you what to do, adults. You do you. You do you.
But no, I just nonsense.
Stupid. All right, QAnon cultists. This is going to be even
Oh,
more
yeah,
stupid.
that's wonderful.
Oh.
So, as
done
you
now.
probably know, right?
Oh shit! I know what you saw.
Trump is convening his clown circus in Phoenix this weekend.
Sorry, Arizonans.
So one of the people that's showing up is Protzman, right? And
I'd ask who that is, but I don't know. It's one of the clowns.
Protzman is the one who took his people to Dallas to wait for JFK.
God damn it! They're not dead yet. I mean, I hope people are snatching their family back from nondescript rental vans.
Yes.
Daily from him.
Yeah. So anyway, they're traveling to the Arizona rally. He made predictions that what might happen that day, including another possible appearance of JFK.
Yeah.
But he specifically said
There we go.
that President Joe Biden was never inaugurated and hasn't been living and working in the White House.
I love
Was
that.
rather
That's the
actually
thing.
part of a movie being filmed on a set in Culver City.
Of course. I would worry now if I owned a big building in Culver City, because that means you may have to fend off the crazies. But
So anyway, Protzman's supporters have also noted that Trump's official announcement mentions live entertainment as part of the rally, and have suggested that this will involve a band made up entirely of dead musicians and singers, including Michael Jackson, Prince, Whitney Houston, Janis Joplin, Tupac, and Chuck.
this is why.
Because any of those people would follow Trump.
I know. Yeah.
No, not a single one on that list strikes me as someone who would be all for Trump. Not one.
Janis Joplin was choked to death on the sandwich the second time to
Yeah.
avoid being in the room with Trump.
Yeah,
What?
Huh? Isn't Janis Joplin the one that died on a sandwich? Yeah, that's
I
Mama
thought that
Cass.
was Elvis Presley.
I probably loads of them. Either way, I think all of them would take the way they left again to avoid being on stage with any of these assholes.
Agreed.
Yep.
That a single run through of what they want to talk about is antithetical to, yeah, we're all in this together. Let's not fucking piss on each other for fun.
Yeah.
There's real problems, and they're going to be real hard, and we're going to have to work at it. What's next? It always has been.
Yep. So anyway, just and
Mm-hmm. No, the
it's
culties
just
wandering
keep on
around us.
coming.
Lunacy.
So last night we talked about conspiracy theories, and you listened to the show.
Yes.
So what were your comments, or what do you think that maybe we glossed over that maybe you wanted to reiterate? Because since we're talking about QAnon, this is a perfect time for you to give us a few words on our show.
I think we need to go back to the show, re-examine last night's show, this night's show, and all of the others, and think about, is there a way to actually begin to move forward rather than just pointing and laughing? Right, which I'm very prone to do, and I shouldn't do it.
Yeah, I'd steal the time-based reward system AA and various other anti-drug systems use. Right, it's a reward-based thing. It'll even the literal psychopaths in this group will be right. Everyone responds to reward-based therapies.
Okay.
And I heard it as a joke from something else. We can get to a park early and like have a group of them show up, and they can open a park, because like the fuck they know.
Yeah.
They got off a plane last night, had a nice meal in a hotel. They came to a park that looks kind of nice and cut a ribbon. Like, no, or we can give them purposeful lives, but name a thing you want every Americans to turn to their page in the books to right now.
Okay. Well, that's my question. We'll spend some time offline, see if we can come up with an answer.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Tell me about this badger finding a pot of gold.
Yep.
Oh my God, iron, actually.
And Hopper.
So here's a little badger looking for a place to make his home and so forth. And
Hoping
he's
there was something alive and scared in the bottom of a hole that he was invading.
possibly, or just digging
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but in that crack where he was digging, there were Roman coins. And so he managed to, kick 90 of them or so out where they could be found, which is why everybody knows where the badger is.
Oh, yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, they're now excavating some more. And of course, the poor badger, they're not going to let him have his little home.
I
But
assume the
anyway.
first person there dropped a Snickers bar.
I hope they did something. Anyway, so they're in there excavating that crack deeper, and they continue to find Roman coins.
Yeah,
they're up
that-
to about 215. Something.
Okay, that's more than I saw earlier this morning. So
Yeah. So anyway,
one of the largest finds.
yeah. Well, and it's an interesting place because it's in Spain, and it's during the period associated with the collapse of the Roman Empire.
That makes sense. That's when you bury things under trees. Seriously, if you're gonna
Right.
bury treasure, always bury it under a tree. They don't tend to move a lot. All the other landmarks are really easily moved, like a hill or anything like that. So anyway, I'm just telling you what the metal detector kids tell me.
So anyway, they're going to do a further archaeological excavation of the cave that it's in.
I certainly would.
Yeah.
That seems like someone's stash house.
Well, and what else would they be stashing, right? Are there Roman
Yeah.
era weapons? Are there whatever? So,
Oh, that's exciting.
Weapons, I feel
Good
like you
job,
keep
Badger.
close to hand just because, right? Unless you're talking like a shipment of them, right? If it's not a crate full, then no, we'll just put a knife every 3 feet in the house. If you're got enough money, you're burying like coins out in the hinterlands.
All right. Anything else on that story?
nope.
Okay, cool. Boomer Rex is about damn time. Tell us about this.
All right. So the Atlanta District Attorney overseeing the investigation into whether Donald Trump encouraged voter fraud during the 2020 presidential election has said that the public will see the results of her office work in the first half of 2022. So I would say they're getting close to having some evidence to suggest that Trump tried to strong arm some people, and that's a fucking felony. So,
All right, we're gonna have a fight as to whether or not he can retroactively declare something to be for the good of the union, but
yeah.
I hope. It's hard for me to generate a lot of oh hells yeah, because it really is getting to feel like Charlie Brown and footballs when it comes to
Yep. We got him. We got him.
the moments thing. No, Mueller's got it. Don't worry about it. I'm like, wait, Mueller was ahead of the FBI. Yeah, his interest in justice is very much aligned with U.S. interests.
Anyway, Willis said she's also looking into impaneling a special grand jury, right, which would have the ability to coerce the testimony of witnesses. Right?
Yep.
So that's a big step.
That's a
if
step.
that happens. Yep.
Sounds good to me.
So as I said, about damn time.
Right.
Yep.
Good.
No, let's start having the fights that we're gonna have.
Yeah.
It's like the cute idea we've got for punting into doing the voting rights thing. That if it's a message from the House, it can't be stopped and it's not subject to the 60 vote thing to begin. It's only subject to it to end, to force the moderates to be like, so where are the 10? Where are your 10, like, friends gonna cross the aisle to no? Nobody? Okay. It's a good, interesting middle piece. I want somebody perp walked. I kind of don't care who.
There you go.
I want
Agreed.
cops, Trump towers.
All right. So now we got updates with the Boomer X. What's going on with Omicron?
So we'll repeat our warnings: stay the hell off cruises, stay the hell off airplanes. But there is some good news from the Omicron, which is there is a noticeably reduced hospitalization risk. There are shorter hospital stays. And if you are vaccinated and boosted, you have 30-fold protection against death from Omicron.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So your friends
not
that
bad.
say this is a weapon block system, it's going the wrong direction for continuing research.
Huh?
It would be good as a weapon. You don't want more transmissible, less lethal.
Agreed.
You want everyone dead in 12 hours after they
Yes.
first sneeze. You want them very contagious. You want frank symptoms to death to be, I don't know, as short as possible.
Right.
No, just we did the show on the conspiracy theory kids, and I know loads of idiots are talking about, oh, it's a weapons thing, and that's why they bring in the gain of function research and the sure, but if you don't know and didn't look stuff up, and right,
Yeah.
you can tell this is not a weapons program, right? It's why terrorists have very little interest in military grade biological weapons because they want persistence, not lethality. Lethality is great, but non-functional is good enough, right? If I can just make you shit your pants. You're going to bitch about it when you're sitting there in the mud that you made, because I'm gross now.
Yeah.
I have no help. I was just trying to make it nice for the conspiracy kids, or at least arm someone who's got a conspiracist near them, who's going to be like, oh, it's the virus, and they're trying to kill you, and black helicopters, and
And
fluoride.
they're taking it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go on to climate weirding. The ocean saw record warming in 2021.
Yep.
Right. So, and the oceans are where all the excess heat goes.
Yeah.
About 85% of it, as I recall.
Yep. It was not a long-term heat sink if it was a heat sink at all. And we are going to regret the ocean part the most since a huge fraction of the humans get food from it.
So, when I had a tiny update on the retards that want the reporter in Missouri charged with hacking, which is the governor's pushing very hard on the local prosecutors. It's unclear if the case has actually been brought or even what Renault could be charged with. But Missouri does have recourse for anyone filing frivolous lawsuits.
Yep.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Time to hurt them.
No, I assume they can't possibly think there's a win in this. I'm hoping this was just cheap heat while they had their IT kits. Hey, I'm talking about the people who are just cutting pro wrestling demos, right? Again, that on the 6th, everyone's talking about how great Biden's speech was, and I liked his speech in Georgia as much as I like the speeches now. But then I watched every other Democrat run back and go, well, I may have gotten carried away with his rhetoric, and
Shut up.
the Democrats
Go
aren't
with
there
it.
for the fist fight.
Just the problem that Democrats have is that when somebody comes out in the Democratic Party with a strong stance, everyone else is like, yeah, and then the next day they're all like, oh no, maybe too much. Shut the fuck up and just do what the Republicans do and just be like, yeah, whatever crazy thing he said, that's what we want, because that support makes it sound better and encourages the continuation of things to move forward. The moment you pull back and say maybe it was too much is the moment that everyone around, well, it was too much, what the fuck? So shut the fuck up. All things forward, let's go.
But no, and again, it's so milquetoast nonsense.
All right, so people are talking about Hillary running, and this is just a recipe for disaster. We can't talk about it. We can't whisper. Do not say her name, okay? Fucking shut up.
She's the Democratic Party's answer to Beetlejuice. If you say her name 2 more times, she's gonna show up, or someone in her orbit will get interviewed because they haven't heard her name or theirs rung out in a while.
Every time you idiots say her name, like, or want to say her name, just fucking choke it back in. Just shove it back down your throat and shut the fuck up. We don't want to hear about Hillary.
You're interested in
Can't
pageantry.
run. We're done.
And no, like, there's some other really good people who cannot run because we do not have time for America to learn nothing and do nothing.
Nope. Fucking Hillary cannot run. Please, dear God, if this gets to Hillary,
And I
or
don't think she
people who
wants
know
to.
Hillary,
Yeah, that's
listen
what
to
I'm
this,
more concerned about.
Don't run.
No, I'm concerned about her most mouthy supporter sides. That they're the ones who are going to talk and lock up big money donors when, that's a good question. What the hell are Democrats going to do in 2024? Because Biden seems like not a great answer right now, but we're also a million miles from there.
Yes.
So, it feels weird that anyone put out speculation, and of course they're fucking barely-ish Democrats, but yeah, that's the first noise that happened, and it happened in the place that the, quote, centrists read. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, I had nothing else to add.
And nobody had been talking about Hillary Kratz for quite a while.
Yeah, no,
So-
I was happy not hearing the name
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton. I was very happy, and I'd like to go back to that, please.
What made them incredibly effective in the 90s makes them incredibly ineffective now.
Yep.
Tastes have changed. It's probably there's a new generation in charge, maybe.
The most accurate description I ever heard of Hillary Clinton was Wall Street Barbie.
That or the kids who run for government in school.
Oh yeah, no, I guarantee you Hillary was class president or some such nonsense.
But that's the last place up the chain of politics where the absolutism of if you weren't on my team from the jump, you can't be. Right? The rest is gangster leadership moving forward. Right? And it's part of what makes the, like, it. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to talk about Ted Cruz legalizing bribery?
Oh, this
Like
is just
a
the.
douche.
Hey,
Fucking
everyone's
douche
doing this because
canoe.
it's about retiring the outstanding debt after the election. Because there's some limits on what you can give before.
So, but you should explain how you set this up.
You give your campaign a loan at outrageous
really
rates.
high interest rate.
Yeah.
Right?
Crazy Utah rates, 119% or so.
Right.
Like, shit, they'd be better off getting something with a VIG.
But after the election, while you are in office,
Yep.
if somebody makes a contribution toward retiring that loan, they're putting money directly in your pocket.
Yep.
It is a bribe, open and shut.
They hand it to you hand it to the other guy, they hand you the money.
Yeah.
Like, this has gotten insane.
Yeah.
And I
Ted
don't think we
Cruz
needed
thinks that
more
should be
avenues for money in.
Yeah.
Yes, and that was the original thing, is because he's one of the people who probably I don't know anything about it. I assume his debt is not as insane as one could write. Because this, if you're doing a test balloon, right, you're threading the needle. So I assume this is a straight loan, and everything would, right, exactly the case you'd want to have the argument that, oh, he loaned this much, and he should get at least that much back, because he, if nothing else, lost the interest.
Okay,
So-
but when it's for his own running, I don't
Yeah.
feel like he should be able to get money back out of that, right? Like if you put money into your own running, that's your money that you are throwing into this, and you should not be able to take that back because
Plus that much again in interest.
Yeah.
that's insane to me.
But I am certain that's not part of Ted Cruz's test balloon.
No.
I assume he's charging standard street rates so he can make this argument. Right, again, because it's the problem with the numbers. We aren't good with the numbers, and that the amount of right. The reason why there's huge support for political groups that want to talk states' rights and cutting taxes is to buy off state legislatures is wildly cheaper.
Yes.
Right, that's something measured in the hundreds of thousands of dollars of bribes.
That, term limits, all kinds
Mm-hmm.
of things.
Anyone who has a corporation who can literally build a division to learn how to defeat the regulations that run it will be happy to put up a number of regulations.
Nonpartisan primaries.
Oh, yeah.
All of those are just a way for rich folks to buy the government cheaper because,
Yeah.
incumbents are expensive.
No, this, you know what, like, the more, like, we talk about things and the more I'm, seeing
we've done it
how
again.
this is all, like, playing out.
Like, comment, subscribe for more bummers and reasons to take toaster baths to the internet.
Yeah, just, this is just
Go
just
snorkeling with your
crazy.
flat screen.
Yeah, don't do that. The
Wouldn't
people,
work.
like, but
I'm
seriously,
pretty sure a toaster wouldn't.
Toasters have historically.
historically, but I feel like the ones you get nowadays, like, shut themselves off.
That is not a whatever challenge the internet.
Yeah,
Do
don't
not.
fucking do the toaster challenge, people. Jesus fuck.
I wouldn't be surprised if they relied on the ground fault interrupt.
Yeah. That probably exists if you live in a nice house.
Anything built after so-and-so in the bathroom has a GFI.
Sure.
Yeah.
You're willing to bet that on every tenement in America?
No, I said
That-
everything built past.
This is my point. Even if it is. It is the first time until it starts tripping all the time, and then Handyman's going to replace it with just whatever the fuck's in the bucket, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, like it's aggressively depressing.
That's how I knew that when that fire started, it was going to be a space heater. 'Cause
Oh,
it's
sure.
Always
That's how
a
it's
space heater.
always a space heater.
It's low-income housing, because why? Because they don't have a good thermostat, and their installations for shit, so they're doing what we used to do and shutting off rooms. But that means you then have a cold room you have quickly, which means you're going to get space heaters.
Yeah.
Then it got out of control and everything was on fire.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I had been doing some research for a story tonight, and then as I started digging, because it seemed pretty straightforward, and then I started digging because a lot of this wasn't, there was some connections I wanted to make, right?
Yeah.
And then as I was making these connections, I found more information that kind of contradicted. So I, you know what? I'm just gonna tell you what I have, and then we'll just go from there, because I don't know if this is. I honestly don't think anything is going to move forward with this. I think that this is
Okay.
kind of gonna be the end of this. I don't. I
Okay.
don't see anything coming of it. So.
It's mostly hit bottom.
Yeah, we spoke about Justin King back in, I
Yep.
believe it was November. And he was murdered by a friend of his, allegedly. So this story, it was ridiculous from the get-go, and it just got even crazier. So the shooter, who's not being named, because the prosecutor overseeing the case said today, that charges aren't being filed against him.
Yep.
Leaving the neighborhood in an uproar. All right, everybody's like, "This is some bullshit." But between the video from Mr. King's house, showing him talking to the shooter in his house, calming him down after an incident where a neighbor claimed the shooter let her dogs off their chains earlier in the day, which the shooter and Mr. King then found together and returned to the owner. However, the owner's claims upset the shooter, whose neighbors have stated is prone to violence and irrational behavior. This is a known thing about this man, and he's even gone so far as to tell people, "I want to kill somebody." So he said this before. He has actively been behaved irrationally at parties and been violent and started fights. He likes to use the N-word a lot and is very, rude. So Mr. King attempts to calm him down. Now, Mr. King is black and Filipino. Let's keep this in mind. So he attempts to calm him down. And when the shooter leaves, King tells him, "I love you, bro." So this is the last thing that's said between these two
Okay.
before shit gets weird. About 50 minutes later in the video, Mr. King runs out of his house yelling incoherently.
Yep.
Runs to the shooter's house and is later shot 3 times after banging on the neighbor's door in 2 separate attempts to speak to gain entry. No one really knows
Yep.
at this point. So on the second attempt to bang on the shooter's door, he gains entry. So I don't know if the guy opens the door and he pushes his way in, or opens the door and says and lets him in. They're friends, right? He just said, "I love you, bro." And then for some reason, so I don't know if there's like a text message or a phone call that
Yeah, it
occurred.
sounds like there's something set this off.
Something
Yeah.
happened that made him be like, "Oh shit, I gotta go check on my buddy," right? So he goes over there, and so he goes into the house. He's in the house for about 45 seconds. And then they're back on the porch, and it's a covered porch. And this is where the shooter kills him, right? So he shoots him 3 times.
Yep.
And this is also where a neighbor claims to have heard King say, "I thought we were friends." And the shooter replied, "Were," or "not anymore," something along those lines.
Yeah.
Like he says something, whatever. And this is just some random claim from a neighbor who supposedly overheard this. So don't know. Don't know how credible this is or whatever.
People say all kinds of shit when they die.
Now, officials during the inquest claimed there were videos from inside both King and the shooter's house. But when they did, when they were showing this to the trial jury, right, to decide if they were going to move forward, they only showed the video from King's house. And why? What happened inside the shooter's house? Why didn't they want to show that video to this jury? So anyway, guess what happens next? The release that the prosecuting attorney's office says there wasn't a video from inside the shooter's home. So there was a video, now there isn't a video. So what happened? you know, did this video exist at some point, or was that a mistake?
Competently done, you'd never know.
And if there was a video, and actually there's not a video, then how can we trust if any of this? Because obviously they're so unorganized, right?
Yep.
So how can we trust any of this at this point? And
Versus what? My guess is there's something in the video that was shown that makes whatever happens next not the story they're going to fight about.
right, so the people that decided that they weren't going to push forward with this, what's called the coroner's inquest panel. Okay, so they claim that King had died by justifiable homicide. And an inquest panel is basically a jury of 6 people that the case, I said in quotes, is shown to, and they decide if the prosecutor should move forward with it.
I had assumed you were talking about a grand jury when you talked about jury before.
No, sorry, that's why I wanted to explain. Yeah, so.
Still, being in a human's home is a dangerous position. You should think about that before you go into them in most states.
Yeah.
They can just shoot you because they've gone mad. And they're going to be the one telling the story.
Well, but the weird thing is he didn't shoot him in the house. They were both outside.
As soon as you produce a firearm, humans tend to leave.
Yeah.
But they've also wildly overstayed the safe point.
Well, the thing is that when you look at the shooter's story, it doesn't collaborate with the video we see.
I have several
And
forms of speculation I am not willing to have go on the internet. If you want, we can talk about it afterwards. Because that timeline is very interesting. So,
No, and
I am
just
not
this
sure
whole
anyone
thing,
was in their right mind.
I feel like, why didn't they pull the phone records? Why didn't they pull the text messages? Why didn't they pull Facebook messages?
They're going to go to the easiest answer there.
I mean, I feel like there's so much more research that could have been done to find out
Yeah,
why did he suddenly jump up and run to his friend's house to see what was going on. Like, obviously something happened.
I think
this isn't a
Asshole has
random
it
event.
right.
Poor
You're
person
assuming
shot
they
poor
care.
person. Fuck them. This was NHI as far as the cops are concerned. They got to a story that held together. They're done.
No,
Like,
and,
I'm not saying that's right. I don't, but I'm also not willing to, having not seen the video that we're talking about.
yeah, no, there was no recordings allowed or anything. So
Well,
a
I'm
lot
not
of this
speculating
is-
about what
yeah.
a dead man did right before he got dead.
Yeah, no, and it makes it hard. But anyway, no, the whole situation is fucked up, and I'm not okay with any of it. But I don't know. There's just so much missing information that if the cops gave a fuck, or like you said, they could find, right? We could fill in these holes, we could fill in these gaps easily enough, but they're refusing to do so for
There's
whatever
the time,
reason.
money, or interest. Like,
I don't know. And again, this happened in Missouri, I said, right?
yeah.
Yeah, fucking just dumb.
No society has ever investigated every death. Like, it's amazing how far down we bother to investigate bodies. Mostly when they turn up in places that are inconvenient for the great and the good.
No, this is exhausting for me. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
to have to look into these stories that seems pretty cut and paste to me. Like, guy's gonna be charged with something, even if it's accidental murder. I don't care, like something.
Nope.
But nope.
Most states in the union, if you go in someone's house, you are literally putting your life in their hands, and you might want to think about that when you go in various the houses.
Well, and I think the thing that bothers me is that I would not, if I was friends with somebody, question going into their house if I was concerned for their safety, or if I felt that there was a problem, or if I felt they were going to do something,
Yep.
right? Like, and this guy being crazy and a hinge, being upset about this woman, maybe said something to him like, I'm going to go kill
Maybe
her
said a
dogs.
lot
Like,
of things.
there's a
Who
million
fucking
different
cares? Fuck
things.
them dogs. Not his job.
There's
He's
no-
not the protector of all dogs everywhere, and he's not. Oh, turns out if he is, he's not very good at it, and I'm sure he wasn't paid enough.
I don't know.
Yes.
Again, this is all just complete, absolute speculation.
Yep.
And these are the places my brain goes because I'm like,
But I'm not going to speculate as to the reasons the only alive person in the story who could sue me has done what he did, because I don't care.
Yep.
fair.
I'm not going to pretend that I care more about this story than the 123 Americans who woke up this morning, made the active decision not to go to bed tonight, because they're done.
But
Which would be
anyway,
wildly easier to fix than fucking Joe
People-
Schmo in misery.
people, let's end on this. Just be good to each other. Be
Yeah.
better to each other because we're
Stop
family.
shooting each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop shooting each other.
Go
Stop
back to beating each other's
fighting
ass.
each other. I mean, stop being mean to
I-
each other
the
in
problem
general.
is
Like, this
yeah.
is just it's getting out of hand. I'm not getting it. It's been out of hand for a long time, but it just needs to fucking
And we should
stop.
never have pretended we had evolved as far as a society as we pretended. Because somebody just called our, like, bluff, and fuck. Turns out, right, a rising tide lifts all ships, and a receding tide shows us who's naked.
So don't forget to check out our Patreon. The link is below is in our description in our YouTube. And I shared it on our Facebook. So don't forget to check out our Patreon. Don't forget to check us out on your favorite podcasting service if you haven't yet. And also, yeah, I think that's everything. We're on Twitter too. So
Send my cat your money, the internet. You know you want to.
So we love you all. Thanks again, and we'll see you back here tomorrow night on BoomerRexTonight.
Bye, the internet. Have a good night.